Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. I was at the shop late Thursday afternoon, finishing a steel railing order for a client when my phone buzzed on the workbench. I wiped my hands and checked the screen. It was a message from my wife, Emily. It read, "Going on a last-minute trip with my ex, Noah. Don't be jealous." I stared at it for a few seconds, not because I didn't understand, but because it was so clean in its arrogance. A single sentence, casual and smug, meant to corner me. If I reacted with anger, I'd be the insecure husband. If I stayed silent, I'd be the fool who let her walk all over him. Either way, she thought she'd scripted my role in her little play. I picked up my phone and typed 2 words. Not at all. Then I set it back on the workbench and turned the grinder back on. Sparks flew from the metal in front of me while my head felt strangely clear. Emily believed this was a test, a push and pull to keep me in check. What she didn't realize was that it was the last line of an equation I'd been working out for months. The missed dinners, the just a friend late-night texts, the sudden need for space. It had all been pointing in one direction. That message was the confirmation I needed. I finished welding the last joint and shut off the machine. I slid my gloves off, put the piece on the rack, and started wiping down my tools. My decision was already made. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to close this chapter in a way Emily would never see coming. She thought I'd wait around for her to come back from her nostalgic getaway with Noah. What she didn't know was that by the time she returned, her home wouldn't be hers anymore. I pulled into the driveway that evening with one plan in my head: strip the house of everything that tied Emily to it. Not with anger, not in a frenzy, but with precision. When I opened the bedroom closet, I actually laughed under my breath. It looked more like a boutique than a home. Designer dresses, rows of shoes still in their boxes, handbags lined up like trophies. For years, I thought I was providing for a partner. Standing there, I realized I'd just been financing someone else's show. Each dress was folded, each pair of heels secured like inventory. I labeled the boxes with a black marker: Closet 1, Closet 2, Bathroom. Every couple of hours, I snapped photos of the contents, a full record. No arguments later about what went missing. By midnight, 18 boxes stood stacked against the wall. The bedroom looked bare, the bathroom counter empty, the walls cleared of the framed photos. It was almost therapeutic, watching her presence vanish piece by piece. The next step was securing my side of things. I pulled our financial documents, my business files, and the passport, and locked them in the safe. I changed the garage keypad and logged her devices out of the Wi-Fi. Clean separation. Before I called it a night, I shot a message to Olivia Martinez, a friend from college who worked as an attorney. Need a quick consult. Just want to make sure I'm handling something clean. Not urgent, but soon. She sent a thumbs up back. I leaned against the doorway of the now half-empty room and took a long breath. The house didn't feel heavy anymore. Emily thought she was testing me. She didn't know her test was already over, and I had scored the final paper. By Friday morning, the boxes were waiting like soldiers lined up in the living room. I wanted the final step done before she came back from her trip with Noah. I needed a destination. Luckily, Emily had already given it away. 2 weeks earlier, she'd posted a picture of a wine glass on Instagram tagged at the Arlo Lofts. I'd looked it up then, curious. A brand new building downtown. The kind of place Noah, with his tech job and expensive taste, would call home. I called a courier service I'd used before for delivering heavy custom pieces to clients. "I've got a load of personal belongings that need moving today," I told the dispatcher. "Pick up from my house, deliver to Arlo Lofts, Unit 12C. The name's Emily Harper. It's all boxed and ready." The driver showed up with a van around noon. I helped him load the boxes, one by one, into the back. When we finished, I handed him a sealed envelope to place on the top crate. Inside was a typed letter. "Noah, Emily's things are here. She prefers being with you now. Consider this a head start. Grant." An hour later, I had the confirmation. A picture of the boxes stacked neatly outside 12C, the apartment number visible in the frame. The timestamp read 1:42 p.m. Perfect. I forwarded the image to Emily with a single line. "Your delivery arrived." No reply, just silence. Back at the house, I walked into the empty bedroom. For the first time in years, I felt like I wasn't sharing space with someone who treated me as an option. Emily thought she was coming back to her home. She had no idea she'd already been moved into Noah's. Saturday morning started with the locksmith pulling into the driveway right on time. I greeted him with coffee in hand and a clear order. Every lock, every code, every point of entry needed to be reset. By noon, the front door had a new deadbolt, and the garage keypad was reprogrammed. When he left, I stood in the living room and looked around. The house was stripped of Emily's clutter, but still felt hollow. Rearranging was next. Room by room, I adjusted the place until it matched my style again. Clean, simple, functional. The spare bedroom had always been crammed with her seasonal wardrobes and holiday decorations. Now it was bare, waiting for a purpose. I thought of my cousin, Maya, who'd just started her first year teaching high school English 2 towns over. She'd been complaining about the 2-hour commute and the rent draining her paycheck. I called her. "Maya," I said, "how would you feel about cutting your commute down to 20 minutes? She laughed. "I'd feel like you just handed me back half my life. I've got a spare room now. Rent-free for a year. Just chip in on bills. You in?" She was stunned silent for a moment. Then, "You're serious?" "Dead serious. Pack a carload. Move in today if you want." She showed up with 2 suitcases, a stack of lesson plans, and the kind of gratitude I hadn't felt from Emily in years. As we carried her things inside, she looked around the cleared-out house and said, "It feels calm here, like it's waiting for a reset." She wasn't wrong. The house finally felt like mine, and soon it would feel alive again, with someone who actually belonged there. That night, sitting on the porch, I checked my phone. No word from Emily. Just silence, stretching longer and heavier. I knew it wouldn't last. The unraveling was coming. By Sunday morning, the silence broke. My phone lit up with 3 voicemails in a row, all from Emily. The first one was sharp, her voice high-pitched. "Grant, what did you do? Why are my things at Noah's place? Call me back right now. This isn't funny." The second came an hour later, shakier. "Listen, I don't know what kind of point you're trying to make, but this went too far. We need to talk. I'll be back tonight. Just don't make this worse." Not long after, another voicemail came through. This time, Noah. His tone was clipped and angry. "Grant, I don't know what game you think you're playing, but all these boxes are not my problem. You need to come get them. Emily is a mess, and I don't want her living here. Handle it." I let them all sit in the inbox. No replies. Around noon, my phone buzzed again. It was Ava Brooks, one of Emily's closest friends. We hadn't spoken in months. "Grant," she said quickly, "Emily's panicking. She says you locked her out and dumped her stuff. Can we just talk about this?" "I'm not discussing my marriage with you, Ava," I said evenly. "Emily made her choices. I just helped move her things where she wanted to be." There was a pause. Then a sigh. "You've really done it, haven't you?" "Yes," I said. "And it's finished." Later that afternoon, I heard from a mutual acquaintance who'd been at the retreat. According to him, the so-called creative weekend ended in chaos. Noah wasn't interested in playing house, not with 18 boxes staring at him. By Saturday night, Emily was in tears, begging Noah to let her stay. By Sunday morning, he'd ordered her into a cab and told her to find somewhere else to land. While all that unfolded, I was at home with Maya, assembling shelves in the spare room for her books and supplies. The contrast wasn't lost on me. One life was collapsing. The other was just starting to grow. It was close to midnight when the video doorbell lit up. I checked the feed on my phone and saw Emily on the porch, suitcase at her side, fumbling with her old key. When the lock didn't turn, her face twisted from confusion to panic. She knocked hard, then started shouting, "Grant, open the door! My key doesn't work! What the hell is going on?" I tapped the intercom. "Can I help you?" Her head snapped up to the camera. "Don't play games. Let me in. This is my house, too." "Not anymore," I said, calm and even. "You made your choice when you left with Noah. Your things are already at his place." "That was just a trip," she shouted. "It didn't mean anything. You can't just lock me out." "I didn't lock you out," I replied. "I facilitated your move. You wanted to be with him. I made sure you had everything you needed." Her voice cracked. "It wasn't like that. It was one weekend, Grant. You've gone insane." I didn't answer right away. I let the silence stretch until the only sound was her banging on the door. Then the hallway light flicked on behind me, and Maya appeared, rubbing her eyes. "Everything okay out here?" she asked, half asleep. Emily froze. She couldn't see her, but she heard her, a woman's voice, calm, familiar, belonging inside the home that Emily thought was still hers. Proof that the space she once claimed had already been filled. "We're fine, Maya," I said. "Go back to bed." She nodded and disappeared down the hall. Emily's shoulders slumped. The fight drained out of her. She sat on the porch steps, sobbing. No anger left, no bargaining power, just the sound of someone realizing they'd burned their last bridge. I watched her through the camera for a while, feeling nothing. Not pity, not satisfaction. Just a final, quiet certainty. Eventually, she dragged her suitcase down the driveway and disappeared into the dark. The house stayed silent, exactly how I wanted it. By Monday morning, my inbox had a long email from Emily. It read like a tug of war with herself. The first half was anger, accusations that I was cruel, that I'd humiliated her. The second half was desperate, apologies, promises to change, begging for just a few weeks until she got back on her feet. She claimed she was staying at a cheap motel, that her friends wouldn't take her in, and that Noah had told her to lose his number. I read the whole thing once, then typed a single sentence. "Your choices are not my responsibility." That was it. No lecture, no insults, no opening for negotiation. I hit send. I blocked Emily's number and set up an email filter to send her messages straight to trash. Clean slate. Maya noticed the change in me that evening. She was at the dining table grading papers when she looked up and said, "You seem lighter today." "I am," I said. "It's finished." She smiled, not prying, and went back to her work. I sat across from her, sorting invoices for my business. The house was quiet, grounded, steady. For the first time in a long time, it felt like I wasn't waiting for the next fight, the next manipulation, the next test. Emily had tried to push me into a corner. She thought she was the one holding the cards. Now she was sitting in a motel room, while her place in my life had been erased and replaced with someone who actually appreciated it. That was the consequence she never expected. Not rage, not a screaming match, but silence. 3 weeks later, we faced each other in a small family courtroom. The process was quiet, efficient, stripped of drama. Papers were passed across the bench, signatures made, and the terms confirmed. The house, my business, and all shared accounts remained in my name. Emily left with only the belongings already moved from the house. 3 years of marriage reduced to 20 minutes of procedure and a stamped order. The chapter had closed cleanly, leaving nothing unsettled. Weeks passed. The house no longer felt like a stage for constant tension. It was quiet, functional. Maya settled into her new routine, leaving early each morning with stacks of lesson plans, coming back late with stories from her students. She filled the house with a kind of steady, grateful energy that Emily never managed to bring. Work picked up, too. A local gallery commissioned me to design a steel staircase for their new exhibit. I spent long hours in the shop, cutting, welding, measuring, the kind of work that always gave me focus. One night, I sat on the porch with a beer and scrolled through old photos on my phone. I stopped at the screenshot of Emily's text, the one that had detonated everything. "Going on a last-minute trip with my ex, Noah. Don't be jealous." For a long moment, I just looked at it. Then I deleted it. No need to keep the reminder. The chapter was already closed. Emily had gone searching for freedom. She thought it meant keeping me tethered while she chased nostalgia with Noah. But freedom came in a different form. For her, it meant standing outside locked doors and sleeping in motels. For me, it meant silence, space, and a house that finally felt like home. In the end, she was left drifting, and I was standing solid. The power had shifted, and the best part was, I didn't need to raise my voice once. Thank you for watching.